Hello, I'm Strong Beverly, a founder of Sports Unfolded. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks. Welcome to Strong's Opinions. We have a lot to talk about today. Today is the first day that teams can start negotiating and making deals in free agency. The new league year starts in 2 days from today. So, a lot is to talk about, including news that broke last night. I happen to see Tom Brady pop up on my Instagram feed, and I'm like, okay, what is this? I see him in a football uniform with his team, and then I read the caption, and it's, I'm coming back for my 23rd season, and I'm just like, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked, but at the same time, it's like, it's really happening. Like, he's not done. And if I'm being honest, we all had a feeling inside of us that Tom Brady was going to return to football. It was just destined to happen. I mean, you don't go from playing for 22 straight years as a pro, like over 30 years in your life, to just from 100% to 0% in one offseason. It's just so hard to do when you love the game that much. He's always talked about how committed he is and how he will literally go home and watch film for countless hours just because he loves the game so much. And, there's a lot of hours in the day, and Tom Brady realizes, I can sit here and play with my kids for 16 hours a day and sleep for 8. I have stuff to do. And I'm a pretty good player. I'm a pretty good football player, so I might as well go out there and throw the ball around because I'm pretty good at it and I can make a lot of money, It's just how it works for Tom Brady. There's just too many hours in the day for a guy that has been playing for that long to just... And he's still playing at a very high level. I mean, he was second in MVP racing last year. To just go from 100% to 0%, it's really, really hard to do. Now, I have a theory about this whole situation. I think that all along he was planning to do this, or at least planning to scope it out. I think he was planning to scope it out. And this theory is what I like to call the Gronk Theory. I invented this yesterday. So, Rob Gronkowski came back to football when Brady signed with Tampa solely to play with Tom Brady. That was it. That's the only reason he came out of retirement, right? So you would think that the second that Tom Brady retires, Gronk would be in his footsteps, retiring right behind him. But Gronk had come out to the media saying stuff like, I'm still contemplating, maybe I want to sign back with Tampa, maybe I want to go play with Joe Burrow, this, that, and the other. And I was like, Gronk, I kind of felt a little skeptical about the whole thing. I was like, Gronk didn't want to play football. Like 3 years ago, he wasn't on a football field. He had retired. And then he comes back to play with Tommy. And when Brady didn't retire, or when Brady retired this time around and Gronk didn't, that kind of raised a little skepticism in me. And I was just like, I think there's a great chance Brady comes back. I think Brady's telling Gronk something that we don't know. And that's why Gronk didn't retire immediately. And that's why Gronk's probably going to come back. I think Brady just took a month off, spent a lot of time with the family, went on some vacations without taking a football with him. Just for the first time in 30 years where football wasn't on his mind. This is my perspective on what he was probably doing during this time period. This was probably a tampering period where he did not know if he was actually going to retire, but he was going to retire officially and then make up his mind later down the road. And obviously now he's coming back to football. So yeah, I just believe that Brady was using this as a period to really self-scout himself and see if he's really ready to step away from the game. And as he said in his Instagram post yesterday, he's not. And, quite simply, I don't think this is a retirement. It's going to go down as a retirement and then an unretirement, but I think this was Brady just self-scouting and saying, hey, am I ready to leave football? And, it's like you want to spend time with the family while your kids are in school all day. Your wife's a supermodel. She's busy most days. She's also making 8-9 figures a day, or a year, not a day. You can sit at home all day and relax, but come on. You love the game too much. I'm sure you could be a broadcaster, but that's not really in Brady's nature. I don't know. I'm not super shocked by this. The Gronk Theory. When Gronk didn't retire immediately, when Gronk showed some signs that he'd still want to play in Tampa, I think Brady was communicating with Gronk behind the scenes that, hey, I'm using this time period to just see how I really feel, and then I might come back to football. Sure enough, he did. All right, so about 30 minutes ago, Mitch Trubisky signed a 2-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is a move that I really love. I really do love it. There's a lot of quarterback moves that I haven't particularly liked recently, but this is one that I do like. It's a low-risk deal. Trubisky's a guy without expectations. But I think Mitch Trubisky is a underrated quarterback in this league. He went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 seasons with Matt Nagy in the Chicago Bears. I mean, the Bears were an absolute mess this season. They had fallen apart by the first few weeks. And with Mitch Trubisky under center, he had a winning record, 2 playoff appearances in 3 starting years, and then they let him go, feeling that they can get more out of the quarterback position. Yes, I know their defense was better in Trubisky's tenure in Chicago than it is now, but when we're talking about Pittsburgh, I think this is a very low-risk move, and there's a great chance they draft a kid in the first round, let Trubisky be the mentor for him. But I think once again, it's a low-risk move, and I think Trubisky's underrated. He's more mobile than people like to think. He doesn't have a terrible arm, and he had a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio in Chicago. And now look at Justin Fields. People are hyping him up more than Trubisky ever got when Justin Fields threw 3 more picks than interceptions. That's for another day, though. But yeah, Mitch Trubisky, I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in this league. He's not the future. He's not the future of Pittsburgh in any means. This is probably a bridge situation unless he absolutely outperforms everyone's expectations. But I like the move. I really do. And there's probably some more free agent signings that have already happened by the time this video is released, this podcast is released. Because who knows, man? I mean, there's so much going on in the league right now. I mean, before free agency even started, we had like 6 absolutely groundbreaking trades, which I've talked about for the most part. So I'm going to talk about 2 of those right now. The Amari Cooper and the Khalil Mack trade. Okay, so I went on a rant on my personal TikTok account, and I got a lot of people, back-talking me, trying to explain why I'm wrong. But I believe I'm right in this situation. People slandered on social media, on the internet, the Cowboys and the Bears for trading away their superstars. The Cowboys only got a 5th-round pick, and the Bears only got a 2nd-round pick for, the Cowboys only got a 5th for Amari Cooper. The Bears only got a 2nd-round pick for Khalil Mack. Come on. You guys got to understand trade value here. I preach salary cap a lot. I'm a guy that is really into statistics and into math, so I look at numbers. And that is a big, big philosophy. It's a big, big component when you're talking trades. If Amari Cooper was on a rookie contract, if he was getting paid $4 million a year, you best believe Dallas could have gotten a 1st-round pick for him. I don't think that's too far out of reach. But a $20 million cap hit, and right now he's probably a $14, $15 million receiver. His trade value is not going to be high. And in fact, some could argue his trade value could be negative. It's like if the Cowboys wanted to get rid of Ezekiel Elliott right now, you know how hard that would be? They would probably have to send Zeke Elliott and a 3rd-round pick somewhere for like a 6th. Zeke Elliott has negative trade value in my eyes. He's getting paid well too much for the next 3 or 4 years, and he's not producing like he's getting paid. And that's just a fact. I'm a Cowboys fan saying that. That is a fact. So the Cowboys came out and made a statement essentially saying, we didn't care what we were getting in return for Cooper. We just wanted a team that would agree to take up his full contract. And Cleveland was there to take up $20 million a year for the next 3 years. So Dallas doesn't have to pay Cooper another nickel ever. And that's all they were looking for. Because if they released him, they still got to pay him all that guaranteed money that they offered him when he signed the contract a couple years ago. So in my eyes, I don't care, we only got a 5th-round pick. When you're talking money, when you're talking cash, This is a good move for Dallas. They got rid of the contract, an overpaid receiver. I do believe Amari Cooper was underutilized and can perform like a $20 million receiver, but at least in our system, Kellen Moore didn't give him the ball enough. Dak Prescott didn't throw the ball to him enough. He was not a $20 million receiver in the Dallas system. So now we see what CeeDee Lamb's made of. I don't know. Talking Chicago now, very, very similar situation. The Bears got a second-round pick for Khalil Mack, and I'm honestly surprised they even got that. I was thinking like a third or a fourth because his cap hit is huge, and it's for the next 3 seasons. And Khalil Mack, yeah, he was injured a lot of last season, but he's shown signs of decreasing play ever since his inaugural season in Chicago in 2018, where he wreaked some havoc on some offenses. That was the year they went 12-4, the double doink season. Yeah, since then his play's been decreasing. He's 31 years old now. That is very old to be giving up a second-round pick. But, you know, the Chargers are an aggressive franchise right now with a lot of money, so you understand the move from their standpoint. But I absolutely get it from Chicago's standpoint. Their GM's not messing around. He's acknowledging they're in a full rebuild. They're going to rebuild around Justin Fields, potentially, you know, get this roster young, build up some draft picks, get some cap space cleared for future years. And who knows? Who knows what Chicago could be in a few years? But he's acknowledging right now they don't need these aging stars. They don't. Get rid of the cap space. Get some draft picks. That's their philosophy right now. And that's smart. That's acknowledging what they are. They're not in a win-now mode. Obviously, the Rams would never do something like this for one of their star players. You just got to acknowledge who you are. Chicago's a rebuilding team. I think it's a smart move for them.